Hi, everybody. It is most indeedingly your boy right here, and I'm very excited today to talk to you about Pride. Happy Pride Month to all of you who observe it. Do you observe Pride like it's a holiday? I mean, I guess it can be a holiday if you believe it hard enough. Happy Pride Month to all of you who observe it. How about that? Yeah, we'll just not question ourselves and move forward with this. I was a little nervous going into this month with the public discourse on queer issues skewing so negative recently. The culture war has really been amped up, and that seems to be what the Republicans are going for when it comes to 2024. Whether it works for them or not is yet to be seen, but it has skewed a lot of the news I've received recently towards the negative. And you should expect that. The news makes the world feel more negative than it actually is. But I saw this Gallup poll the other day that gave me a little bit of hope. It's a poll on same-sex marriage. And I know same-sex marriage is just one issue in the much bigger spectrum of queer issues today, but it is how we measured gay acceptance for so long that I feel like it's important to look at data like this to see, are we moving forward on this? Are more people accepting it? Or are we digressing? Because recently it's felt like we've been digressing on queer issues, but at least as far as same-sex marriage goes, it seems to be at like an all-time high. 71%. How do you get 71% of anybody to agree on anything? And I understand this just means that they've moved down the line. They've picked a new group of people, trans people, that are now like the acceptable group to hate on and have all and demonize and do whatever you do. But I do think it's important to highlight that this is us moving in a very positive direction, and that a lot of the anti-trans rhetoric feels like it's an anti-queer movement experiencing a bit of desperation. I think it's because of all the progress, you sort of get the backlash as a bit of a byproduct of the rapid progress that we've had in recent years. And in the grand scheme of things, it's been moving very, very fast, which is super exciting. Gay marriage was actually the first political issue that I cared about, which is very strange because later on I found out, oh, I'm bisexual. You may not have known that. I haven't really talked about it much. Later on, I found that out. But when it first became an issue I cared about, I wasn't sure of that. I didn't even suspect that. So I figured for this video, I would cover something. I mean, I guess it's a little bit self-centered. I'm going to narrow into my personal lens as this issue has developed and try to figure out, like, I can't say how did we get here, because we'd be here all day, and I'm not prepared for that. But I am sort of interested in how I got here, because if you go back 20 years, this number is crazy. This number is like insanely high. Like, it was always moving in this direction, but how quickly it just started rolling down the hill and going faster and faster and faster. And it's snowballed. That's the term. Yeah, it just got bigger and bigger as it rolled down the hill, and then it rolled faster and all of that. So we all got to this point. Well, those of us who are in that 71%, all of us who are on the queer side of pro-queer issues, we all got to that position somehow, despite a society that for so long was against that. So something inspired people collectively to get to where they are now. And I just wanted to do a quick reflection upon some of my personal inspirations that sort of made me more sympathetic on these issues when I was first developing as like a political thinker. I was just a kid. I got into politics pretty early. It was probably 2007 where I first started dipping my toe into politics and developing as like a political mind. And I was still so young, so naive. Still am. Um, and I'm still learning every day. But like, what things got me to being on this side of this particular issue, despite growing up uh, in a community where people would drop homophobic slurs. I grew up in a time where people used gay as a synonym for stupid, which people have really moved beyond, more or less. You're like the weirdo in the group if you still do that. Uh, and how, despite this, I've gotten where I am now. It's not a question of like if we got there. It's like what how did we get there? And I think it would be a fun thing for everybody to sort of reflect on, like, what got you? Did you have a gay friend, a gay coworker, a gay child? There's I think now we're in a position where everybody knows a gay person. uh Many people will know a trans person. Like because of this, you look at them and you see like that's not a sinner or a monster. That's my friend Bob, and he just happens to like his roommate very very much. uh, and it sort of like develops from there. Like you see the very human side of people, and it makes you sort of change the way you feel. I was never like super anti-gay, though growing up I was around homophobic slurs and the use of gay as a synonym for stupid, but it was never like particularly ideological. It was just sort of that's how people talked. uh, but there was a stigma that I could recognize around homosexuality. It is not something that you wanted other people to think that you were. And even after I started being sympathetic to it, I was still insecure about people thinking that I was for some time. Uh, Now I don't care. Now I have plenty of people who think I am, and I just let them believe whatever they want. But like, I ended up falling in the B category, which I think is great. It opens up your options and all that. So I was thinking, like, who's the first gay person I knew, or not personally, but I think in media. Who's the first gay media figure that I was aware of? I think the first one that a lot of people of my generation were aware of was Ellen DeGeneres. I didn't watch Ellen's show that much, but I think there needs to be some recognition, although it's not particularly popular to be fond of her in these days. I think she will sort of go down in history as a large part of normalizing gay people in the public eye, because she was so early. And she was seen at the time as just this really nice, friendly talk show host who was just like super wholesome, and like there was no reason to have an issue with her. If you had an issue with her, like on that principle of like you just don't like gay people, you'd have to reconcile that with she seems like a nice person at the time. I never had that, but I've spoken to many people, and that is a lot of their first exposure to like a gay voice that was like normalizing just like their presence in pop culture. However, I want to go through more my personal experience. I didn't get it through Ellen. I didn't watch Ellen much, though I was aware of her and had no major issues with Ellen at the time. Uh, Actually, I think my development comes a lot from having internet access at a young age. And I think that influences a lot of young people today, having internet access at a young age. Interestingly, I think the first issue that really got me sympathetic towards gay people was my discovery of the Westboro Baptist Church. If you're a little younger, you may not know who these people are, but if you can read the signs on screen, which naughty language and stuff aside, I think it's important to see like what these people looked like. They were this fundamentalist Christian group that rose to some, I would say, prominence, but they were never like this prominent group that like converted people or persuaded anyone. I don't know if the Westboro Baptist Church ever persuaded anybody, but they got a lot of attention by protesting outside of dead soldiers' funerals. And they would hold up these really inflammatory signs, and they're not just protesting the dead soldiers, but as you can see in this top left one, thank God for dead soldiers, they also are doing that, but they're saying that God, they're the type of religious cult that is going after people for their sins and saying that their sins are causing greater issues. Like, it was much more mainstream for a minute for a lot of televangelists after 9/11 to say, oh, we embraced homosexuality and that's why the planes hit, or we did something, or we took prayer out of schools, and that's why 9/11 happened. It was actually God's punishment and all that. And that's sort of the mentality that people like the Westboro Baptist Church had. So I found people videos of like people filming them on YouTube. And they were so incredibly unappealing that, and I had not developed an opinion on the gay issue. I was kind of brought in like, oh, they're protesting outside of dead soldiers' funerals? That's messed up. Like, what's up with these guys? And then it also has like the anti-gay element, and I'm like, if these people don't like gay people, the gay people must be the good guys in this situation. I'm still like a young developing mind, so I think in more of a polar rather than like a gray scale. When you're first developing a political opinion, often you pick a team. And it's not the most productive way to think, but that's sort of how it started. Oh, these guys don't like gay people? Gay people must be great because these guys are terrible. And I know now that that's not necessarily the most productive way to think about political issues. The enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend. In this case, they happen to be my friend. And I sort of went down sort of a rabbit hole from there where now I'm somewhat sympathetic to them. Like, I don't know if I have a strong opinion about like broader gay issues, but I've come to the position that they don't deserve to be treated like this. Like them or not, they are people. And what these people are doing is incredibly unkind. And that's sort of like, okay, we have drawn a line now. Now it's time for the line to start moving in one direction or another. From there, I discovered, I think, videos of them by the Young Turks, which, for those of you who were into politics and early YouTube, the Young Turks, they were the thing. If you were like left leaning, I haven't watched them in a very, very long time. So I don't really know what they're currently like. I know a lot of people who watched during the time I was watching have sort of moved away from them and have become much more critical of them. But at the time, I really I grew to value their opinions, and they had generally pro-gay opinions. And I, as a young, impressionable mind, this is what I was consuming at the time. So it helped me towards like further developing my principles on that. However, I don't think that was alone. I think viewing it entirely through a completely political lens, like through like the political issues of the day, is not entirely what did it. There were some personal. There were other forms of media that really started to push me in that direction. And I have a couple other examples that I think are interesting for that. So here we have the next one. This is weird considering, like, I was a kid. I was a white kid in the suburbs. I watched the hell out of the Boondocks. It's very fortunate I knew well enough not to repeat the things that were said in this show, because it catered very much to a black audience. Lots of N-bombs, lots of homophobia in it, although the show itself is not necessarily homophobic. The characters, when they act homophobic, you're supposed to be like, oh, they're being ignorant, or at least that's my interpretation of how I think the show is trying to push me. But I remember so vividly one of the first episodes of the Boondocks I saw was the first Gangstalicious episode. So this is Gangstalicious. For those of you who didn't watch the Boondocks, Gangstalicious was a rather interesting character. He was a rapper that the main character Riley, this kid who doesn't usually dress like this. This can be explained. So Gangstalicious is kind of a parody of 50 Cent, who was known for being kind of homophobic. And I'll give 50 Cent a little bit of credit. He's clearly moved further than I expected him to move, further than a lot of rappers have moved on the issue of homosexuality. But he does have a reputation for homophobic comments and all that. So, but here we have Gangstalicious. He's this rapper. He's been shot. He makes songs that Riley really likes, and he ends up getting shot and goes to the hospital. I'm doing it through here and not through clips of the show, because I know for a fact it would get demonetized here. I might actually be able to get away with it if I just tell this story through pictures. So Riley visits him in the hospital just as a fan and doing whatever. And Gangstalicious is showing little signs that he may not be real, you know? Like, he might not be a real thug. He might not be a real gangster. He's coming off as a little bit soft, like he's playing a character. And Riley starts to doubt Gangstalicious and all that. And then, while he's visiting him in the hospital, these three gentlemen over here end up coming to visit Gangstalicious. And Riley thinks, oh, they're just gangsters from Gangstalicious's past, and they're trying to get back at him for like some gang activity. But then at the end of the episode, it turns out it's a lovers' quarrel, and which we end up seeing this man kiss Gangstalicious on the mouth. And that's sort of just how the episode ends. It left you sort of hanging there for a little while. Eventually, in a later episode, they return to Gangstalicious, who starts showing more effeminate traits. Like he's starting to. Have you ever seen The Interview? The movie The Interview. They have a scene with Eminem where Eminem comedically comes out as gay, and he says, "I've kind of been playing gay peekaboo." Well, Gangstalicious starts playing gay peekaboo. Basically, you see him dressed a little less gangster. He gets into fashion, and I don't know if when this episode came out. Maybe this is like around like more of a Kanye West period. But he starts getting into fashion and all this stuff. You see lots of pink stuff, people wearing pearls, people, and in his fashion line, it also includes like this tank top that Riley ends up buying, and like this skirt thing, whatever it was. It's actually shorts, and it has a little flap that goes in the front. Not that important, but Riley is like super into him, and he doesn't realize how incredibly gay all of this seems, but everybody around him sort of sees it. But eventually it comes to the point where Gangstalicious is exposed, and there's this woman who comes out and is like, I wanted to give my heart to Gangstalicious, but he was so incredibly gay. And that was kind of a powerful moment because everybody starts to turn on him. And there was this one scene I remember at the end. Maybe they have an image of it. I don't think they do. But they have this scene at the end where Riley thinks like, oh, I might be gay. He's not. But like I liked him. That makes me gay. It's like a gay by association thing. And he starts being all troubled about that. And like and his grandfather like accepts him as a gay kid, even though like he's not gay. But like that's like an adorable little side plot where the grandfather has to like develop on gay issues because he's confronted with, this is who my grandson is, which that was actually incredibly huge. And like that's just like the side thing. And then we have Gangstalicious, who is seen at the end on the phone crying that his career, he feels like his life is over, and he's like, nobody's gonna take me seriously, and he's so just broken over all that has happened to him, and you can't help but feel for him. And then in the end, Riley confronts him and is like, be real with me. Are you gay? And Gangstalicious has the option to be honest or continue denying who he is. And he opts to continue to deny who he is. He says, no, she's lying. This is all just a campaign to take me down or whatever. Like, you believe that? Come on. And then he, as far as I'm aware, never gets his happy ending in the Boondocks. He continues to deny who he is to the public. He can never be who he is openly. And that was incredibly heartbreaking for me as a young man to see. And I think that was one of the most beautiful depictions of the suffering of self-denial, the just self-destructive nature of keeping yourself in the closet. And I would I might credit Gangstalicious and Riley's story more to me accepting gay people on a more personal level than possibly anything else in any media I have ever consumed. And I highly recommend this episode. So it's if you don't watch, I think it's on Hulu, but there's the story of Gangstalicious in the first season, but the second season, episode 13, that one is just amazing in how they handle it. And it's got this great balance how they have homophobic characters. They don't glorify the homophobic characters. They are clearly in the wrong. And they have characters grow. They have Granddad grow. They have I don't know if Riley grew. I think he grew as much as you could for a character at his age who needs time to work this stuff out. He's not ready yet. But Gangstalicious, he has the opportunity to continue to grow, but he continues to deny himself that satisfaction because he feels like he's not going to be able to people won't accept him, essentially. So with that, I do want to get to the last example of endearing content that sort of had a major influence on me. So I think I saw this after I saw that episode of the Boondocks. Does anybody remember What the Buck? This is early YouTube stuff. If you don't know What the Buck, then you might have just not been there at the time. What the Buck had kind of a gossip show. Honestly, it was a little similar to like Keemstar. I don't think it was as well. Whatever. It was occasionally mean-spirited, but it was snarky, bitchy humor. And it had some positives and it had some negatives. That is what it is. And Michael Buckley recognizes to this day that there were some problematic things in his old material. He's privated or unlisted a bunch of it. And that is what it is. I'd never hate on Michael Buckley for what he was doing in 2007. Like, he's clearly grown as a person. This is one of his older videos that he's kept on, and I think it's incredibly important. So at this time, we're starting to get a lot of people coming out of the closet, per se. A lot of YouTubers are finally stepping out in the open and admitting who they are, I guess, and just kind of rolling the dice to see if their audience will accept them. And this is still at a time where that's kind of a risky thing to do. And these coming out videos continued long after it was like a really risky thing to do. Now a lot of the people who do come out already have audiences that are predisposed to accept them. But in early YouTube, there wasn't a lot of precedent. There was still a big chance that people who come out will be rejected by their audience. Michael Buckley, he wore his gayness on his sleeve very obviously. He fit... Stereotyping's not good, but he fit every stereotype. And he did his own coming out video. And I just wanted to play it real quick here and talk about why, out of all the coming out videos that came out like around this time, why I think this one is very important. Why I'm glad this one is still on his channel. So I'm going to play this real quick, or enough of it for you to get the idea. There we go.
Are you gay? Can someone please tell me if Buck is gay? I'm pretty sure this guy is gay. You sound gay. You look gay. You're gay.
Just to pause here for a second. These coming out videos are usually have the tone of like the modern apology video, where it's like you start with a sigh, or you start like with like a somber tone or whatever. So it seems like it's kind of going that way, but this is sort of like, usually it's the person just sitting in a room kind of doing it raw. He's doing it like with editing, some sketch stuff. It's more high quality, I would say, and from a production standpoint. That doesn't diminish the other videos, but his approach is in a lot of ways unique.
You sound gay. Are you gay? You're gay. You look gay. Are you gay? Can someone please tell me if Buck is gay? You're gay. You're gay. You're gay.
And at this stage, you think it's going to be like a sad video. Because one of the things with a lot of these coming out videos, they'd make them and they'd like cry on camera. Like with, sometimes it felt like catharsis. Like, hey, I'm finally letting this out. Sometimes it came off as shame. And you can only assume what's in somebody's heart. You can't really say for sure what they were actually feeling, but the energy they projected out into the world has a certain effect. If you're like a young gay person, you see somebody coming out and they seem like apologetic for being gay, it could be discouraging for you. If you see somebody coming out confidently, it could be sort of liberating and encouraging for you. And while these apology videos, while these coming out videos are often for the individual, if you are doing it in this sort of public forum, there is a degree of like, the way you handle this isn't just for you anymore once you do it in a video. You're probably speaking to like a young gay person who's not sure how they feel. And there's sort of a delicate balance where if you believe this is the right thing to do, you also don't want them to feel that you're ashamed. You want them to feel like it's okay. And maybe the people coming out might not even be sure that it is okay. But this right here is what I think was perfect about this.
My name is Michael Buckley from the What the Buck Show, and I'm gay. I'm really gay. I'm super gay. I'm gay like you read about gay. I'd cue the ABBA music right now if it wasn't copyrighted gay. Give me a G-A-Y. Why? Because I'm gay. Some people think it's a compliment to tell a gay person that they don't seem gay or that they're not as gay as some other gay person they know. Like it's a bad thing to look gay, to sound gay, to act gay. I like being gay. I like making gay videos. I like looking gay. I like sounding gay. I like dancing gay. I eat pretty gay too. It's not a secret. It's not a question. It's not a problem. You're so gay. I know.
So that's sort of the idea I'm trying to like show here, because like that was the first time I saw one of those coming out videos that was unapologetic. That was like, if you're like a young gay person, you see that, it's like, and you hear somebody say, it's okay, it's not a problem. That's kind of a beautiful message that people sort of need to hear when they're in that position. So that one sort of stays in my mind with all like the tear-filled, I'm sorry for being this videos, which I don't fault the people for. But but I think they create sort of they contribute to sort of the stigmatization in a lot of ways. As much as they help, they can contribute to the stigmatization if you come off as ashamed. So there's a delicate balance to have when you have like public figures doing stuff like that, because if you want people to take something out of it, you probably want them to take a degree of pride out of it. Circling back around to pride. And as somebody who's fallen under one of those many letters, but never really had to struggle with it, it's easy for me to say this stuff. But I think I was exposed to a lot of encouraging material early on, when it came to the point to be like, wait, am I attracted to this dude over here? It was like, yeah, sure, why not? It was just like a whatever thing. It was no longer, it was kind of a beautiful thing because it didn't have to be a problem by then. And I think being exposed to positive queer media is something that I'm incredibly grateful for. And I'm very grateful that I was able to experience at the right time. So I think that's all I got for today. So I hope the intro to this ages okay and that this month goes off without a hitch. I think we're going to be okay. Let's all just be let's all just be cool this month. You know, let's have a good time and whatever. I don't know. I'm hoping everything goes well. And I do genuinely think that the world is better than the media portrays it as. When you look at your news feed, you'll see negative stories inherently. That's what the news is. But just remember that fun little statistic from the beginning of the video. And while that's just one issue among many, we are moving in the right direction. In this one's humble opinion, we are moving in the right direction. I think, I hope in the long run, we're all going to be okay. So thank you all for watching this video. Happy Pride again for everybody, and enjoy the rest of your month. Thank you to the channel members. Want to become one? Sure, do that. All the money's going to charity, so that's cool. And you get exclusive stuff. I started an Assassin's Creed 2 playthrough for the channel members, so if you want that, that's there. So, oh yeah, fine. I'll finish my sign off. Bye guys. See you next time.